Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of the day it is that you're listening to this. My name is Yvette Wanzuu, and welcome back to the Walking with Wanzuu podcast. How are you? How have you been? Has life been kind to you? It's been treating you good? Tough times? I'm sending you love and hugs nonetheless. Welcome back to the podcast. Enjoy listening. Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to the podcast. How has life been? How has your week been? How has your day been? If you're listening to this in the evening, and if you're listening to this in the morning, good morning. How are you? Look at you, fine thing, waking up, getting ready for work, and just conquering this thing we are calling adulting. Because the way things are going, you have to wake up in the morning and just, I don't know, pop confetti or something and congratulate yourself that you're pushing through and that you keep going. I feel like adulting sometimes demands so much of us, and even just life in general, because some of us who are listening to this could be in high school, you could be in primary school, I don't know, and one way or another you resonate with my content, and that's why you're here. And so I'm not going to invalidate your experience as well. Every day above ground is such a blessing, but that's not to take away from the fact that sometimes life can be overwhelming. So I celebrate you today for just waking up, doing what you need to do, and for being you. Kudos to you. Well done. Welcome back to the podcast. How have you been? I am so grateful for you coming back here and just engaging with my content and listening. Last week's topic was a bit heavy. I hope you have listened to it, and if you haven't, I'm not going to preempt or give you any spoilers, so please go back and listen to it. I'm sure you will get so much and you learn so much from it. It was about trauma. One thing I said that we're doing this July is we are healing. Kama ni kupona tutapona. We have to heal. We only get this one life. I don't know if we're coming back, and while we're at it, we really need to come to a point where we are, there's like a level of unison, where we're one in our minds, in our heads, in our hearts, and we just feel like we're at a point where we can just do life functionally. Okay. And so I feel like addressing trauma is a huge part of just healing and being able to live your life at optimum, really. And that's something that you can't run away from. You can only run away from it for so long until it catches up with you, and then now you're forced to confront your demons and just deal with them so that you can be a better person for yourself, live a good life for your own self and for those that you love and those that are around you. Also, so that in whatever roles you have been given in this life, you can perform at optimum. I could go on and on and on. Even this is after me saying, I'm not going to talk too much about my previous episode. Now this is me rambling and giving you spoilers. Anyway, please go back and listen. I'm sure you'll get so much insight and you learn a lot from that particular episode. Now today I want us to talk about something that I feel we don't talk about enough. We're living in an age where you just need to pick up your phone. You get on any platform that you want to. You can listen to music. You can listen to a podcast like the wonderful Walking with Wanzuu podcast. Yes, shameless plug. Or you can just do really anything that you want to do. You can connect with friends and family, those who are close by and those who are away. So basically, just by picking up your phone or connecting to the internet, there's so much that you can do that doesn't require you to leave your space or to go out and just do the most. Like, a lot of interactions or connections that we can do it virtually. So you don't have to be physically present there. And so over time, I'm noticing that a lot of physical and present connections are done virtually. It's not a must for you to be there. I mean, look at ever since the pandemic came in and there was Corona, from 2020 up to now, there are workspaces that have really just allowed their employees to work remotely. And even now, there are a lot of companies and places of work really are really embracing people working remotely and working from home. And so physical human connections have really been minimized. That's what I would say. So I want us to talk about loneliness and being alone. So basically loneliness and solitude. This came about as I was thinking of a lot of things. I was thinking about some of the deal breakers that I personally have in relationships, or some of the boundaries that I have set for myself as far as romantic relationships especially are concerned. And I realized, as I was talking to different people, I was doing a bit of introspection myself, and I realized that people, us in general, people are actually really struggling with loneliness. I think it's something that we're scared to admit. I think it's something that we don't talk about enough. even around the circles that we would deem safe, or in spaces where we feel like we can talk about our own personal issues. Loneliness, I feel like, can happen in many ways, shapes, and forms. But before we get into that, I want to describe what loneliness and solitude is. I'm going to use the word solitude in place of being alone, because it just sounds better, and also it's more or less the same thing. Yeah. So loneliness is a state of mind linked to wanting human contact but feeling alone. Get it? This is exactly what I was saying at the beginning. It's that feeling of wanting human contact, but you feel alone. You can only, as human beings, we are wired to be social beings, right? And so you can only act like you don't want connection for so long. There's a certain point that you normally get to, even if you love your company, or no matter how much of an introvert you are, there's certain spaces, or there's a certain point that you normally get to, that you feel like you're craving human contact, or you want that kind of human connection. People can be alone and also not feel lonely. They can have contact with people and still experience feelings of isolation. So when we talk about loneliness, it's not in a context of you just being alone in a certain space. Loneliness, you can be surrounded by people. You can be in a group. You can be in a squad. You can be at work. You can be at home with your family, but still feel this overwhelming sense of loneliness. It's like you're with these people, but there's no connection. And so you're craving that kind of connection. So that's what loneliness is. Solitude, on the other hand, is a choice to be alone and to use that time for either reflection or simply enjoyment of one's own company. So solitude is more of like a choice. It's like me, I want to be alone. I want to experience my own presence in this particular moment. So solitude comes more likely out of choice. Otherwise, loneliness gives you a sense of isolation and persists even when there are other people present. So then now, I want us to just have a come to Jesus moment and be honest with ourselves. What are the times, or are there many times, that you found yourself making certain decisions or being in certain spaces simply because you're lonely? I know for a fact, hands down, and I'm going to say this knowing that this is a safe space, that I have been in relationships, I have been in friendships, I found myself in certain spaces just trying to quench or satisfy the urge of feeling lonely and craving human connections. There have been times when, like, for instance, you're talking to people, or you're trying to get into a romantic relationship, and you get with someone, and you're just looking at this person, you're just like, our values don't align, I don't like the way they do this, there are certain things here that I can just see will cause trouble in the long run, but you still stick it out, and you still choose to be there. And there are times when even your boundaries are extremely crossed, or you're really disrespected, but you choose to be with that particular person and still be in that particular space, because you don't want to be lonely. You don't want to walk out of that, you don't want to walk out of the comfort or the bubble of knowing that I have someone. And then now let's get into social media. You're looking at Instagram, especially Instagram. I'm not even going to start talking about other apps. You're looking at Instagram, you go onto Instagram, somebody has made a reel with their significant other, somebody's there celebrating their significant's birthday, somebody there celebrating their anniversary, it's been 2 months, it's been 3 months, it's been 3 years, somebody has been proposed to, and there's just this very subconscious pressure that you feel to want to be with someone. It's like there's a craving of connection that you cannot even describe. I remember when I first started living alone, I got my very first space when I was 22. 22, 21, I can't quite remember. And during that time, I really used to enjoy the fact that I can just be in the house, be in my own space, make meals, experiment, clean my house the way I want. If I left something at a particular place, I'll find it there. And I really enjoyed that. And then over time, I started to feel this overwhelming sense of loneliness. Yes, there are times I would enjoy being alone. I would enjoy solitude. That was okay. And then there are times when I would just be engulfed with this overwhelming sense of loneliness. And during that time, time, I would find myself inviting people into my space who had no business coming into my space. I'd find myself going somewhere where I would necessarily not even want to go, just to be able to to quench or to satisfy that urge of feeling I need some kind of connection, like I'm feeling lonely. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people struggle with. Now, you'd be surprised to know that there are different types of loneliness. Even I was surprised to know this. I'm sure there's a lot. Like, if we get into it, we could talk about maybe 10 types or even 15 types. I don't know. Because some of these feelings that we feel are very unique to us. I don't think any person people don't feel things the same way. It could be the same kind of feeling that you're experiencing it, but the intensity or how it is that you feel it and interpret it could be very different. So the first type of loneliness that I have learnt of is emotional loneliness. Now, this is the absence of meaningful relationships. There are people who, over time in my life, I find very dangerous. And I feel like as a child in my younger days, now look at me talking like I'm an 80-year-old. In my younger days, I feel like I was a victim of that. People who everybody is their friend. Okay, you have no clear boundaries with people. It's like, this person is your colleague, now you're here calling them they're my friend. This person is your neighbor, they are my friend. This person is an acquaintance, maybe just someone that you see around, or this is my friend. So everybody is your friend, and you don't have clear boundaries as to how it is that you connect with people. So you'll find that in emotional loneliness, you have the absence of meaningful relationships. It's like, all these people, maybe you hang out with all these people, you interact with all these people in different kinds of ways, but there are no real meaningful relationships that you have. I think over time, as you grow older, your circle gets smaller, but also you really value what it is that, you really are keen on the kind of value that someone brings into your life, or whatever interactions or relationships that you have, you're really keen on trying to identify and knowing what the value is. I think the challenge usually comes in trying to, if it doesn't give you value and if it's not meaningful to you, the challenge is usually trying to eliminate that or to distance yourself from it. And it can be difficult because sometimes you outgrow friendships. Sometimes you get into a situation thinking it's going to edify you or it's going to be really good, and then you both don't end up getting what it is that you wanted from that particular interaction. And so if you're just walking around nursing relationships that don't carry any meaning, don't carry any weight, then you might tend to feel a sense of emotional loneliness. The other loneliness is social loneliness, a perceived deficit in the quality of social connections. I feel like this one can be very similar to emotional loneliness, but this one is more of around your social circles. So it's like you're drawing a bit far from your, it's like you're now we're looking outside your inner circle, if that makes sense. So your social interactions. Social loneliness, these are people that you just know socially, perhaps from church, perhaps from just around your social circles, like family, friends, and stuff like that. And so if you feel like there's a perceived deficit in the quality of social connections that you have, then you can tend to feel a sense of social loneliness. I know I personally have struggled with this over time. I'm at work most of the time during the week because I work at 9 to 5. Sometimes I work Saturdays half day. So what I normally have left to myself and time for myself is Saturday afternoon on the Saturdays that I'm working, and then Sunday the whole day. And so sometimes I'll feel like that Saturday afternoon, perhaps I want to go and visit a friend, or I just want to come home and catch up on my sleep, or I want to spend time with my daughter. And then on Sunday, perhaps I won't go to church. I'll just sleep in, try to catch up with my daughter's homework, see how she's doing, just really be present in the home front, since I've spent the entire work week doing what it is that I'm doing at work. And so I can see how my social life would struggle. And sometimes I've felt like I don't have very meaningful or very heavy social interactions that I would feel like, I have a community, I have a squad, I have this. And so I was very intentional about, when I went back into church, I was very intentional about joining a Bible study group, having people around me who I feel like I can talk to, I can interact with, even on a level of just being humans, but also just being parents and stuff like that. So that's something that I I was really intentional about. And in my own small and little way, I've tried to fix it. Of course, there are times when life really just does the most and people tend to drift apart. But that's something that I tried and really worked for me in terms of feeling socially lonely. And then the last one is existential loneliness. This one I really yo-yo with, guys. And I think a lot of us are going through this. We just don't discuss it or talk about it enough. And existential loneliness is the feeling of fundamental separateness from others and the wider world. We all talk about having an existential crisis where you're just like, you wake up in the morning, or even when you're going to sleep, or you're just around and you have this feeling for, why am I here? What am I doing here? If we talk about life, what's the bigger picture? What's in it for me? What do I need to do? There are times you wake up and you just feel like you're not, you're just going through, it's like you're just going through the motions. You're working. Do you even like your job? Do you feel like that's something that you were meant to do? If you were to wake up today and get to choose what it is that you want to do, would you still choose to do what it is that you're doing? Your relationship, the life that you're carving out for yourself, the life that you're currently living, do you feel like that's where you want to be? Do you feel like there's certain things that you need to change? Do you just hate it all together? Do you feel like you're alone and no one gets you? And even in the wider scope of things, like the world is just moving in a direction where you feel left out, or you don't understand, or you're just moving because everybody's going in a certain direction. The questions are so many. But the bottom line is, in a world that there's so much hyperconnectivity, and at the touch of a button, it's like you're connecting with people, but you're not really connecting. And then, of course, there's always this narrative that's being pushed around for, I'm a bad bitch, I can do good all by myself and stuff like that. It's like, be independent, be your own person, move in your own way, don't move as a pack, eagles fly higher, all those things that we're normally told, and all those quotes. Sometimes it really just takes away from learning and accepting that wanting human connection is a basic human need. You would be surprised, and I feel like that's why sometimes I always say that romantic relationships, when you're in a relationship, it brings out a certain optimism that sometimes when you're single you don't have, unless you really work towards getting it. There's just something special about knowing that someone has chosen to be with you, and you've got them and they've got you. You wake up in the morning and you're just like, okay, I could be broke, I could be going through it at work, this and that and the other could not be working, but there's someone somewhere who's got me, and that's just giving me the optimism that I need and just the energy that I need to push through life and do what I need to do. And it makes you show up differently. And so you'd be surprised that when you satisfy the urge of feeling like, okay, I have people around me that I can connect with, I'm building genuine human connections, I'm building I have quality social connections, I have my existential connection, like I feel like I'm not separate from the world and just the wider things that come with it. It could really help you. I don't know what it is that you've compromised just to be able to not feel lonely. It could be your values. It could be you've allowed people to walk all over you. It could be you've been busy saying yes when you should be saying no, just because you feel like you're lonely. I want to encourage you and tell you that you're your own person. There's a reason that we are all born, like we all come into the world by ourselves. Even twins, they can't all be pushed out at the same time. You'll always have the older twin and the younger twin, even if it's by 10 seconds, even if it's by a minute, by 2 minutes. You are an amazing being, and you're perfect, and you're whole. Just as you are perfect. God, I always say this all the time, God doesn't make mistakes, and you as a person, you have the wherewithal, and you have everything that you need to be able to do whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you dream for yourself, and to create the life that you want for yourself. And that doesn't mean that challenges won't be there. That doesn't mean that things will not push or draw you back or close to whatever it is that you want for yourself. But it is up to you to work on whatever it is that's going on. We don't talk enough about the feeling of loneliness. Even when I talk about it, I start to feel it. It's like sometimes, especially now that we're in the thick of Kenyan winter, it's July. So there's also a certain sense of loneliness that you feel when that cold hits you. It hits you differently. I don't know what loneliness looks like to you. Do you feel like you're moving in your own way and people don't get you? Do you feel like you just need a hug? Do you feel like you just want to be cuddled? Do you feel like you just want to talk to someone and feel like they get you and they understand you? There's a need that you have that could lead to you feeling lonely, and whatever that need is, I think the first person that can satisfy it is you. So here's me urging you to start getting comfortable with your own company. Start getting comfortable with your own company. Another thing that you can do is start to volunteer for good causes. I mean, what's the use in now just sitting and being alone and feeling like the world is on your shoulders and you don't know what to do? Perhaps you could try volunteering. What's that thing that you really enjoy? Perhaps you enjoy giving back. Perhaps you enjoy certain activities. How about you involve other people in that activity and volunteer to do it? The other thing is reading. I have never been much of a reader. Even when I was in school, I was just reading because I have exams and I'm going to be tested and I need to pass. Reading exposes you and really expands your mind to think way beyond more than you ever did. And there's something about gaining knowledge, because you can never be quite saturated with knowledge and know everything. So reading makes you gain insights. It increases your way of looking at things. It's just like your intellectual kind of intelligence goes to another level. Your intellect goes to another level. So I really highly recommend reading to be able to deal with loneliness. Another thing is to find fun hobbies. If you're a homebody like me, then of course you really struggle with just living and thinking, now I need to go and do this and do that. It's the little things around you that you can do that will give you joy. If you love to cook, please cook up a storm. If you like to paint, please get your manila paper and your paintbrush, get your canvas, start painting. If you like to color, please color. Find small hobbies or small things that give you joy that you love to do. And slowly by slowly, you'll find that lonely feeling starting to go away. Another thing is to spend time with family. It's not until you are away from family or you see people who don't have the gift of family that you start to realize what a blessing family is. There's a reason why God didn't help you choose your family. You can choose your job, you can choose your career, you can choose your life partner, you can choose your friends, but you don't get to choose family. Those are people who are assigned and appointed to you by God. And that is your first line of defense. That should be your first line of comfort. And I acknowledge and I accept that there's some people who don't get to experience that. And my heart goes out to you, because we all come from different families and some can be very toxic. But of course, there's that one person, that one cousin, that one sibling, that one parent, or even step parent that gets it. And I want you to lean into that and allow yourself to be loved and allow yourself to be comforted. And another thing that we should learn to do, guys, and I can't emphasize or stress this enough, is to voice how we feel. So much would be solved if we could just learn to voice how we feel. If you're in a safe space and someone asks you, how are you? Imagine it's okay to say, guys, like today I'm feeling low, or my spirit is just so low, or I'm really feeling lonely. Like I know I'm sitting here, I'm with you guys, I'm drinking, or I'm listening to music and we seem to be having a good time, but I am genuinely just feeling lonely. And it's okay to admit that and to experience that. And then people can come through and support you in their own special way, or in a way that can be able to meet that need. I think we really brush away also the need as you get older to just want to have someone to share your life with. I mean, friends are good and that's amazing, and I'm sure we all have these friends that are just heaven sent and are a gift from God. Family is good. You can never take away from the fact that family is your first line of defense. It's your first line of comfort. Family is such a blessing. But you know what else is good? Is having a life partner, is having your own personal person. That's really good. And there are times when maybe because of how life is, or recent bad experiences, then you're not in a position where you're in a relationship, and sometimes it can get lonely. And sometimes when you look around you and you see maybe people are married or people are in thriving relationships, it gets to you and you feel like, wow, me, where is my person? Am I the problem? Is it me? Am I the drama? What's going on? And it can really get to you. And so I just want to validate you and tell you that you can't be happy with someone else if you're not happy single. So whatever season you are in life, I'm sure there's a devil for every level. And if the particular devil you're fighting with right now, the particular demon you're fighting with is being lonely, I want you to know that you're not alone. And this is something that a lot of people struggle with more than they care to admit. So I see you, I hear you, and I feel you. Please get the help that you need. If you need to talk to someone, talk to someone. Feel free to reach out to me on the socials. Let's hear more about some of the things that you personally are doing to be able to deal with whatever feelings of loneliness that you have. Or is it this episode that has jolted you to feel like, perhaps the way I've been feeling, it's really just been loneliness that's been eating me up. Let's start to admit whatever it is that we're struggling with. I think that's the first step to healing. And then now finding small solutions and learning to be vulnerable, even when we feel like, I don't know, now this is just taking my gangster points down. We owe it to ourselves to heal. We owe it to ourselves to be the best version of ourselves. And you owe it to yourself to be your own best friend. Because whatever it is that can help you fight loneliness is enjoying your own company and being your own person. Wishing you a lovely week ahead. Love and light. Sending you all the hugs and love. I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode and being part of my journey. I would love to hear from you. Find me on Instagram at Yvette Wanzuu. Find me on Gmail at tewanzuu@gmail.com. Feel free to write to me so that we can interact and get to know each other a little bit better. Thank you so much for being part of my journey and for walking with me and doing this thing called life with me. See, we just do life together. Ama, have a good one. Sending you love and light, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.